Hello, I'm Paul Cox, and today I would like to talk to you about cognitive dissonance. This is the latest episode in my series of This Is, and This Is explains the key terminology being used in the cultural and political debate / war raging across Great Britain and the rest of the West today. In previous episodes, I have discussed British culture and I have discussed Islamophobia. But as I say, today I would like to talk about cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological concept from psychologist Leon Festinger of the 20th century, died in 1989, that describes the mental discomfort you feel when you hold two or more conflicting beliefs, values or behaviours at the same time. Your brain doesn't like this tension, so it tries to reduce the discomfort, often by changing your beliefs, justifying your actions, or ignoring the conflict. Absolutely fascinating. A simple definition of this would be, I'm doing something that doesn't match what I believe and it feels uncomfortable. Simple example of this would be smoking despite knowing it's harmful. Belief: smoking causes cancer. Behaviour: you smoke regularly. Dissonance: why am I doing this if it's dangerous? Resolution: my granddad smoked and lived to 90, I'll quit later. This can also be used for things like spending money. Belief: I should have money. Behaviour: you buy expensive things you don't need. Dissonance: this wasn't a smart decision. Resolution: I deserve a treat. It was on sale, so it's fine. And the examples go on, you understand. Now, the reason I want to talk about it today is because I believe, from my perspective, that the left and far left of British politics in particular are suffering from a massive psychosis of cognitive dissonance. I can give you examples on the left where they hold one belief but have another action. For instance, they will believe in the rights of women and children, but their actions are trans ideology and the overwhelming support of illegal immigration into the United Kingdom, even though both things are demonstrably proven to cause harm to women and children. And they justify it to themselves by saying they are kind, it's okay. Well, kindness doesn't wash. Kindness isn't what's important in the political debate. Kindness is not what is important when it comes to leadership and taking a country from this very poor position it finds itself in now to build back. Other examples would include when the left talk endlessly about community cohesion, but they will overwhelmingly support Muslims, and particular the Islamist community of Muslims who commit terror attacks like the Manchester Arena, where young children and their parents were slaughtered in the name of the Islamic religion. They will justify this by saying it is not all Muslims, which is true, but they will chuck the baby out the bathwater by saying we're not going to do anything about it. It's the problem of the people that are noticing. And the people that are noticing are racist, because we know if we say they are racist, we can stop them in their tracks and they will not be able to say the things we don't want to hear, because it makes us, the left, feel incredibly uncomfortable. The same applies to female genitalia mutilation. Also, talking about racism, Israel. Many on the left will be marching this weekend and have marched many weekends before now in support of Palestine, which supports Hamas, which supports the eradication of the Israeli state, which is supported by 90% of Jewish people. So they are advocating the end of the Jewish people. The way they justify it to themselves is they say there is no correlation between the support of Israel and the Jewish people. We cannot correlate the two, because if we correlate the two, it makes the left racist, which means they are the problem and all we are the conduits that are noticing. Do you see the pattern that's forming here? They will support the very worst things that occur in our society and around the world to prop up their progressive narrative. The IOC this week ruled that only biological women can compete in women's sports in the Olympics. This caused uproar from the left, the very kind, caring left that say they support women and girls. But they've had to do some serious mental jiggery-pokery to enable them to believe that somebody with a penis and testosterone and the strength of someone with testosterone and a penis can fight in a boxing ring in an Olympic event against a woman and beat the living daylights out of them for a gold medal whilst they cheer them on for their bravery. Meanwhile, every hard-working Olympic boxer that was biologically a woman, born a female, is beaten in that ring, and all of their work has gone out of the window in support of a man that is supported by the left. This makes the left feel incredibly uncomfortable. This is cognitive dissonance. On the right, it's not that we don't suffer from cognitive dissonance, it's that often the outcome of our cognitive dissonance isn't so harmful for the community that live around us. We might hark back to some nostalgic rose-tinted time, perhaps in the 1990s, maybe even further back in the 50s and 60s, where the country was primarily white, we had British values, it was Christian. Now, some of us have lived through that period, and yes, it did feel nice by comparison to today. But it wasn't like we had complete community cohesion. It wasn't like we didn't have problems. However, going back to that point, or talking about it as a comparison, is not causing harm to those around us. Whereas carte blanche supporting the trans debate, illegal immigration, which includes rapists and child sexual offenders, it includes all sorts of demographical changes and cultural changes, which is having a huge impact, obviously being seen by everybody of any political persuasion, is having a huge detrimental impact on what is happening to our country right now. Now, you would think that if you brought this up and you showed cast iron evidence and examples of what is going on, that people on the opposite side of the argument that are willingly allowing harm to people around them would eventually stop and notice themselves. That is not happening. That is because the papers, the mainstream media, and many people in control of the narrative support the cognitive dissonance. They invented it. They have gone down the narrative far too far to backtrack now, because either they just do not want to lose face, so they're afraid of embarrassment, or they have swallowed the Kool-Aid so much that they will not accept that they are wrong. Even if it was to happen to their own family, or there was a risk of it happening to their family, as the joke goes, they would probably praise the Islamists for choosing to kill their family. Now, up until this point, this has just been something that exists amongst the peripheries, on the edges of political debate. But as we know, with the failure of the convention two-party system, the failure of the Uniparty, the Conservative and Labour Party, and of course the irrelevant Lib Dems, has left a huge vacuum, meaning that Reform and Restore on the right and the Green Party on the left have been able to fill the void. Now, the Green Party is incredibly fascinating. I'm 46 years old. I remember when the Green Party cared about Wales, making sandals out of hessian, and the environment. And really importantly, and something a lot of us could get behind, was how clean our waterways were within the countryside and the seaside. Fascinatingly, the Green Party have now adopted a pro-Islam approach, because they have identified if they take the Islamic community with them, they will win a significant proportion of the votes. They have abandoned nearly all of their green concerns to support the minority communities. Unfortunately, these minority communities are filled with people that would see them dispatched as soon as they achieve power. That is the Green Party's cognitive dissonance. The Green Party, headed by Zach Polanski, previously known as Dave Polanski, the boob whisperer, is a Jewish man which denies the right of Israel to exist. therefore speaking against 90% of his brethren, speaking against 90% of Jews worldwide, one of the smallest minority groups on planet Earth, which is being discriminated against by Zach Polanski and his party. They have been incredibly silent just this week when the ambulances were burned in Golders Green, because they know it's being carried out by communities they support. So therefore, they are enabling these people to enact terror. I pause to allow you to sink that in just for a moment. This and these situations are incredibly dangerous. There is no greater example of cognitive dissonance to my mind than what has happened to those Labour supporters like Carol Vorderman, like Owen Jones, that are on the far left of politics, that supported Labour in the last election because they wanted change towards left-leaning politics. As soon as they realised it wasn't going left enough, or that this was the most dangerous government that we have seen in living history, they jumped to the next thing, which happened to be the Green Party. Again, paying no heed to what the Green Party was saying, or, if they were, exposing themselves to the dangerous rhetoric that they believe in. These are people that will tell the rest of the people, particularly the working classes, from their high height, that communism and socialism is the answer, even though they know full well, history tells us 1,000 times, that it's those very working class people that will be harmed as a result of implementing socialism across the UK. This is one of two things. This is both cognitive dissonance, because some of these people refuse to believe that they are the problem causing the problem, and also that they are absolute radicals beyond reproach. For many of them, particularly when it comes to Carol Vorderman and Owen Jones, they have reached the point of return. They could not turn back now. Their whole careers would collapse. They would have to go into animosity, disappear, and would not be able to face public scrutiny again, because they would have been caught in their radical lies. Now, you would think the way out of cognitive dissonance is to become the noticer yourself. So you've got someone like me or you saying to them, can you not see the damage your support of the trans ideology is doing for women and girls, that the support of Islamists is doing for the wider community in Great Britain? Can you not notice that too? Let's sit down and have an adult conversation. Their only way out of it, because they will not accept this, is whataboutery. What about this? What about that? We have noticed this as well. We have noticed that as well. They will refuse to deal with the problem in front of them, and they will point something else out. This means you end up with this circular argument that gets nobody anywhere, and meanwhile, kids get raped, kids get blown up. That's where we find ourselves in Great Britain today. And the classic whataboutery is, well, it's not that many people. So you are telling me there is an acceptable amount of people that can be blown up or raped just to protect your progressive narrative? If we are to follow that through, the only point of being progressive would be to pretend to be a woman or punch a woman in the face. Is that what you support? Because it feels like you do. The trouble is, what they've been able to successfully do, probably up until very recently, is create two sides of politics, left and wrong, rather than left and right. And now I find myself on the right, because I did start as a centrist, probably left-leaning centrist, right the way through the 90s and early 2000s, is that I am now refusing to be part of their clan, because I notice the noticing too. I don't want to support their behaviour no more. I don't want to support the damage it does to our country. So I'm refusing to point out any whataboutery, and I am joining the debate on the right, because the politics is a legitimacy, a legitimate part of political debate. You have the left and you have the right. And of course, I will be covering this as part of the This Is series very soon. Cognitive dissonance is a psychosis. It's why psychologists like Leon Festinger were involved, because they can see the damage that it's doing to the human race. And the infuriating thing is that the left seem to have empowered themselves with the belief that they are not only right, that their right is righteous and God-given, and that nothing they can think or say could be bad, so they don't allow themselves to listen to the other side. Well, I have a message for you. You are causing havoc You are the very problem that you are trying to fight, and all we are doing is shining a mirror back on you and saying, look, what are you going to do to change? Because it's not long before these people come for you. Cognitive dissonance, an epidemic across the cultural and political debate, because people refuse to be considered to be wrong. And if they are confronted with the outcomes of their beliefs, their brain, because they have been taught all through school and university and now into the workplace, they couldn't possibly be wrong, just refuses to accept that they are. And meanwhile, travesty after travesty is happening across Great Britain. If this video achieves anything other than to help people understand what cognitive dissonance is so that they can use it in their debates and conversations with people, is that it might just help one lefty who chances upon this to see that they are a massive part of the problem and therefore can be a significant part of the solution. That's why we're going to end up with a right-leaning government, and when we do so, I think at first there'll be a huge negative reaction because we've got the blob, we've got the institutions, education, healthcare, all indoctrinated into the progressive narrative. But as right-wing policies are enacted across the UK, hopefully over a longer period of time, they will see the change benefit them and they will start to understand they were part of the problem and they can be part of the solution. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Doing so enables me to keep making this series, keep making videos. I love doing it. I love all your feedback. So please let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, keep it real.